Craig Smoke.
Cowboys, of course, having their very impressive start. They're on a run. The only loss was in Tampa, and that one there was obviously close. The game against the Chargers could have gone either way, but they did win that game, and now they have coming off a win against a crippled Giants team. You know, John Machoda, Giants, obviously, that was a bad day all the way around for them when it came to Saquon and then Jones, etc., Galladay. But, it made me think the Cowboys are still playing without DeMarcus Lawrence, La'el Collins, and
Michael Gallup.
And they seem to not be missing a beat. And it seems like in the past, any of those guys out would have shut them down.
A huge difference in this team and in their psyche. If they keep rolling the way they are right now, and let's say, I think that they're going to the playoffs regardless of how things continue to go, just because I think the NFC is terrible. But let's say they make a playoff run and this is the best Cowboys team of the last decade. I think we look back to that couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. I remember talking to you guys on this show when all that DeMarcus Lawrence news was coming down that he broke his foot. And then there was also, multiple guys on COVID list. And then there was the, La'el Collins suspension. And it was like, look at what can go wrong next. That could almost be something that galvanized this team, because in previous seasons, they might have crumbled. But this team, others have stepped up and they've actually elevated their game. And I think that that's brought in kind of a new confidence, really across the board, and given these guys kind of a feeling of, you know what, even if we do lose the guy or if something bad happens, let's say we have a bad drive or a turnover, or we're forced to start a drive from our own 2-yard line. Like, no, let's just keep going. Like, we can overcome this. We've already overcome this other stuff. And I think that has helped them, not having these guys. And then it's also given them confidence that, like, wow, we're doing this right now, and none of these guys are out for the year. We're about to get all these guys back. Like, we're not even coming close to playing our best ball yet.
John, how much has Tony Pollard given Zeke new life?
I don't know. I mean, you can certainly make that argument. I don't think it's that. I think with Zeke, I think it's, we live in an era that, not that in any other era he wouldn't have heard this, but I think with social media, I think it's magnified. And I think he knew last year that he wasn't the Zeke that he had been in previous seasons. And I think a lot of that, hearing the outside noise, whether he wants to say embrace it or not, I think a bigger driving force off season. I think that he, put in some of his best work. I mean, just what he did coming into OTAs and minicamp. And I remember, reporting on some of this, and there was a lot of eye rolls of like, oh yeah, best shape of his life. Yeah, we've heard this one before. Who cares? It's only, April or May or whatever, June. Like, let's see it when the season starts. So I think he put in a lot of that work then, because frankly, he just wasn't happy with what he put on the field last year. And I think that's more of the reason. And then the other part of it is just that the offensive line, particularly the run blocking, has just been off the charts.
So, John, I saw your tweet about Bill Belichick. That was all one quote? That was a lengthy answer on the Cowboys, man, unless he just maybe he normally talks like that. But, my God, I thought that was like 4 or 5 questions worth of quotes, but he had a lot to say about the Cowboys, didn't he?
Yeah, so we get some of those things sent to us. It depends. Like, some teams are better than others about sending out their transcripts from anything that's like in an actual press conference setting. And so the stuff that Bill had to say a couple of days ago was pretty bland, because he had admitted that he had really dove in that much on the Cowboys. So I kind of felt like he was going to go into today with like something, decent to say or whatever. But yeah, that was his opening statement. It was funny because I was going to just tweet a couple sentences from it. And then at one point I'm just like, I'm just going to do a screen grab and put this whole thing out there, and people can take what they want out of it.
Yeah, it's been forever. They don't play each other much, and it has been forever. Last time I think it was a pouring down rain up in New England, and Brady and Prescott both were soaking wet, and it was a low-scoring game. They just don't play each other. You see certain teams, other parts of the AFC, whatever, they play a lot. This is a rare game, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then it's also the fact, like, you go back to that game and how it was kind of sloppy there. It kind of makes you think, like, I can see the game being a little bit like that this year. Now, of course, no Tom Brady. The weather isn't supposed to be that bad. But it still is Bill Belichick. It still is the Patriots at the end of the day. Like, you just have this feeling that he's going to have some type of game plan to try and make this game ugly. Like he knows and heck, you just read that long quote that he had in that opening statement. He knows how dangerous this Cowboys offense is. And so I think he's going to try and find any way possible to try and make it ugly. And I think that's what he's going to have success at that. Like, I still think the Cowboys win, but I just don't I think with the way that the Patriots have played this year and the way the Cowboys have played this year, a lot of people, especially Cowboys fans, look at it as like, yeah, this isn't the typical Patriots. Like the Cowboys should win this game like by 10, points, maybe 2 touchdowns or whatever. I don't necessarily see that. The history of Bill Belichick and what he can do. I mean, heck, just look at the way they played against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady when he went back up there. That Tampa Bay team should have beat them by 3 touchdowns. But you still, at the end of the day, it's Bill Belichick. There's a reason he's had so much success in this league. His defensive game plans are different from week to week like no other coach. He's going to have something that the Cowboys haven't seen all year. Now, I will say their balance in offense, they have the answers for whatever he tries to test them with. But at the end of the day, it still is Bill Belichick. And I just think there's a far greater chance that the Cowboys win this game ugly than the Cowboys winning this game, to anything that looked like the way that they beat the Giants.
Yeah, I just reading his quote, one of the things that just popped out at me is that he mentioned Dalton Schultz and that he's really their receiving leader, which means to me that of all the guys who are going to see weird coverages thrown their way, it's not going to be Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb. It's going to be Dalton Schultz because he's kind of the safety valve, and then that's what's going to throw the Cowboys completely off.
And to be honest with you, that's not a bad game plan because he is kind of like a safety blanket type thing underneath. And he's been on the same page with Dak. I mean, Dalton Schultz, one of the players we got today, and I was just asking him about one of the passes that Dak had to him to extend it and get a first down near the middle of the field. And it was a play that broke down last week. And Dak all of a sudden had a roll right. As soon as he busted out right, Dalton went to the right too. And it was just like they had planned it. And he said they've worked more on those unscripted, the second play of that play because once it breaks down and the quarterback escapes, a new play starts. And he talked about how much they've worked on that in the offseason. So those two are clearly on the same page. The problem I have with that, if you think that that's your game plan, is that Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb are like two of the most quarterback-friendly receivers, like with just the way they run routes, the way that they get open and create separation. If you can go ahead and take away Dalton Schultz, you can go away and take away Blake Jarwin. I just find it hard to believe that you're going to completely shut down this entire offense. I mean, you even have a guy like Cedric Wilson emerging and making more and more plays. So, and here's the other thing. You mentioned Tony Pollard earlier. Like, we still, like, there's more that Tony Pollard can do. Like, he can shoulder a bigger load than he has up to this point. Maybe this is a game where Tony Pollard has a big game that we're not really expecting right now because it hasn't happened recently because Zeke has taken his game to another level. Like, there's still plenty of stuff on this offense that they haven't shown yet, and that's what makes it so exciting to watch this team play.
Yeah, there's no question. Craig?
So, John, at 2-3, I mean, as we were saying, it's not the same Patriots of old, but what does, I guess, worry you, or what is the focus for you as far as I think we're all in agreement that Cowboys are probably going to win this game, but what is it about the Patriots, if anything, that you have your eye on?
Well, one, if Steve Belichick was coaching the team instead of Bill Belichick, I think that it would be way different. It's because Bill Belichick is out there. That's the one thing. And then he has pieces like Matthew Judon that, like, he's just going to use in different ways. And frankly, like, you can relate it a lot to what the Cowboys have done this year. You know, you watch the Cowboys over the previous decade, and there isn't a lot of they weren't doing the stuff that they're doing this year, specifically with Micah Parsons, where you just really don't know from play to play where Micah Parsons is going to be. Bill Belichick's been doing that stuff for decades, and we get to see it now. I mean, partly because you have a player like Micah Parsons. You need that player, first of all, to be able to do those different things and be a Swiss Army knife. But you just don't know the game plan from week to week of what Bill Belichick, and that's the part that really makes you kind of wonder how are they going to attack the Cowboys, because offensively going against the Cowboys defense, I don't know. Like I look at Mac Jones. I look at some of the stuff that they're doing. I just don't, their receivers don't scare you. I know they spent a bunch of money in free agency on the tight end position, but like, does that really scare you? Like, there just isn't a lot there. Like, I just don't see unless there's a bunch of turnovers or some special team scores, I just don't see the Patriots being able to score over maybe 20 points, 24 points. Like, and I just don't, this Cowboys offense is just too loaded, too gifted for me to think that they're not going to score at least that much. So, I mean, they're the Patriots. You have to give them respect. They're playing up in Foxborough. Like, absolutely respect them. The one good thing that comes out of doing that is that this isn't going to be some type of trap game. Because if they are who they are, because Bill Belichick's there and they still are the New England Patriots, I don't think that we get we're going into that Giants game. It did seem like they were kind of running in the mud, and you were kind of like, okay, at what point are you just going to pull away? This team's not on your level. I don't think you're going to have to worry about that in this game. I think they come out right from the beginning, and they come out firing.
Yeah, and this is the kind of game, the only way New England wins this game, and obviously it's that the Cowboys throw up on themselves, but you dummy the game down. This is like one of those things you look up and somehow or another it's 16-14 in the third quarter, and even then Dallas is capable of popping it open. But yeah, it's that's what they did to Tampa. They just did that 2 or 3 weeks ago to Tom Brady. Although the weather at times can be an issue as well. You mentioned Zeke and you mentioned Pollard, and it's amazing. Both of them are still getting a lot of yards. I've always thought the Cowboys, even when they have been average the last few years, Paul, I've told you this before, it seemed like they have more 10-plus yard plays, and yet they always were spinning their wheels inside the red zone or whatever, and they're scoring now. They're not scoring just field goals. They're scoring touchdowns, not just kicking field goals. Haven't they always been kind of explosive? They just never knew how to finish?
That's a part of it. And really the running game, I think, is the reason why you're seeing more success in the red zone. When they've run the ball well, they've had success in the red zone. And that doesn't necessarily mean, that's because they get down there and they run it every time. It's because it gives you another element that you have to worry about. And another piece that's happened this year that I think that if they continue to have the success, we'll look back on is really that move. And it might seem stupid and it might seem kind of like a funny little side note because it's not like they do it all the time. But I think we'll look back on that move for Kellen Moore to make Connor McGovern that fullback. That's a move that it's something small, but they've had so much success with it that I think it's brought them confidence in the short yardage situations down in the red zone. Just that little bit of a wrinkle has helped take that running game just a little bit ahead of what it had been before, to the point where it interests me to think, hey, maybe in the playoffs they see Tampa again. And yeah, Tampa's loaded in the middle, and they said that they weren't going to bang their head against the wall and run the ball against them. They were going to take what the defense gave them. I think if they play Tampa Bay again, I think they do run it even more with that package, using a little bit of Connor McGovern, and then also because the running game has just been better since then. I think the whole package, because the running game is having success, it makes everything else easier, whether it be in the red zone, whether it be the success they've had in the passing game. I think everything starts there, and I know that in today's football, that gets lost a little bit because everybody wants to see you chuck it around, throw it around the field, go 3 wide, especially when you have CeeDee Lamb, Amari, and Michael Gallup on your roster. But at the end of the day, this Cowboys team has had the most success when they've run the ball. They're built to run the ball with this offensive line, so do it.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. John Machota with us on Wednesdays in the 5 o'clock hour, theathletic.com, covering the Cowboys, who are playing really, really well, and they look like they got a little magic to them. And I know it's early. It's not even 1/3 of the way through the season. There's an extra game this year. Can change at any time, but they do seem to have something oomph to them that we have not seen in quite some time.
I was going to ask Paul, what is your nervousness level that this will completely fall apart by the end of the year?
I'm always I'm at best at 50-50 with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Right now I'm probably at 50-50 because this is the smoothest they have.
You're not more than that?
What do you mean?
50-50?
No, absolutely not.
He's been hurt too many times.
I've been hurt too many times. And Soki, am I an optimist?
No, you're not.
A pessimist.
You are glasses not only half empty, it's sometimes empty.
It's shattered.
Yeah.
There's no glass.
Yeah, there's like a leak.
Yeah, there's no glass. It's broken.
Well, I think you can calm down on that. I think I really do. And you know me, I probably am more the other way. And especially with them, for some reason with the Cowboys, I'm almost like with them the way I am sometimes with Texas. I give them that little extra and there's no reason to do that. Neither one of them for a quarter. Well, Texas has the 0-5.
Here's when I will be optimistic. In the Super Bowl, when there's 2 seconds left on the clock.
So they are.
And the Cowboys, that's when I'll be optimistic. If they're back in the Super Bowl, winning by enough with about 2 seconds left on the clock that the other team can't make something weird happen.
Okay. All right. Well, I get that.
13
it's kind of like
with 2 minutes left, and that's enough time to score 2 touchdowns.
The way I feel watching my favorite college team, there's never enough of a lead, and for sure, they damn sure never have enough of a lead. When we come back, we'll check in with Kentucky football with John